All right, so Esther says, I'm expecting, let me read her message. I'm expecting to learn all that it takes to achieve a high band score in IELTS. All right, thank you, Esther. I'm sure you will get that too. Okay, I have a new message. Sandra Paul. Sandra Paul says, I'm preparing for my IELTS exam, which I plan to write by September. Wow, Sandra, this is going to be um, an interesting class for you, and it will really help you a lot. Okay, September, that's still a good time to practice. And I believe that this is a step towards the high direction. I aim to learn and actively participate. Thank you. All right. Thank you, Sandra Paul. Please have your notebook ready and your pen. And let's have Faith. So Faith says, um, to be fully prepared for my IELTS exam with a high band and to secure an official score proving my English proficiency. Okay, that's good, Faith. That's good. That's good. That's good. That's good. That's good. All right, I'm still expecting more. We are 23 in number. I'm still expecting more. I'm still expecting more. I'm still expecting more. Send me your expectation, please. Send me your expectation. And please, I would like to have you in this class always. Okay? I'm sure you know the timetable. Mondays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays. Okay? And then for our practice, you either make use of your phone or if you have a laptop, that's perfect. If you have a laptop, that's perfect. We can use that. You can use a phone or a laptop. So I'm expecting more expectations, more expectations, more expectations, more expectations, so that we can start. And then in the course of the class, if you have any question at all, okay, kindly signify. All right. Once you signify, then um you will be unmuted so you could speak. Or in case you don't want to talk, you can actually type in your question in the comment box. So I'll be able to check it. You were still expecting more. We have 22 now. Expecting more people. I'm still expecting more more participants. I'm still expecting more participants. We're 22 in number. So once you signify, in case you want to talk, I will unmute you so you can speak. So we're still expecting more people so I can start. And please get your laptop, get your notebook ready. And then feel free at any point you can ask questions so that you'll be well attended to. All right, thank you so much. So let me introduce myself. My name is Prince Obinna. All right. So I'm going to be your IELTS tutor throughout this period. And please, we have a policy. Okay. If you want to talk or you want to ask any question, please, you can signify. All right. Just signify by using any of the emoji. I will definitely unmute you so you could speak. All right. Now, let's start. So today we're going to be looking at the introductory aspect of what IELTS is. All right. Now, the word is it's actually an acronym, IELTS. It's an acronym. By an acronym, we mean that this is a situation in which it is shortened. It has a long form. Okay. Now, each letter represents a word itself. Each letter represents a word itself. Okay. Now, remember that it's either you pronounce it as IELTS all together as IELTS, or you could rather say IELTS. Okay, so whichever one is preferable for you, that's very, very fine. So it's either you say IELTS or you rather say IELTS. Okay, so you could possibly use any one of your choice. Now, let's look at the meaning. What is the meaning? So IELTS represents international. That's the letter I, represents international. Then letter E represents English. Okay. Letter E represents English. And then letter L represents language. Okay. Language. And letter T represents testing. Testing. All right. That's in continuous form. Testing. And then letter S represents system. Okay. I hope we got that. I hope we got that. So now this is known as IELTS, okay? International English Language Testing System. I hope this is good. Now, take note of this. IELTS is the widely recognized and most accepted English proficiency test. Is the widely recognized, remember. Now, what do you mean by widely recognized? Meaning that it is much more recognized than TOEFL. I'm sure many of us know TOEFL. So IELTS is much more recognized than TOEFL. It is also much more recognized and generally accepted than CELPIP. Okay, it is also very much recognized than PTE. All right, we have PTE core and we have PTE academic. Okay, now IELTS is widely accepted and very much recognized than most of these other English tests, such as CELPIP, such as Duolingo, such as PTE core, such as CELTA. I don't know if many of you are used to CELTA. Okay, SEL, then TA. All right, much more recognized than TOEFL itself. Okay, so now IELTS can be used for different purposes. I hope we're all aware IELTS can be used for different purposes. Like I said, please, you're going to learn a lot from this particular class. Okay, get your notebook, get your notepad, get your pen, and please ensure you're writing. At any point, if you have a question, simply signify. I will definitely unmute you and then I will allow you to ask your question. Okay? This class is very much loaded and you're not expected to miss any one of it at all. Don't miss any one of it at all. Like I told you, the timetable is Mondays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays. And in between, we have both theoretical and practical classes. Okay? Now, let's continue. So, like I said, IELTS can be used for different purposes. Number one is academic. Yeah. Most schools in US, in Canada, in Australia, and other European countries like Italy, Austria, they mostly require IELTS. Why? Because they are trying to assess your level of English proficiency. How? They are trying to evaluate how well you can listen. That's the listening test. How well you can read in English, that's the reading test. How well you can write in English, that's the writing test. And then how well you can communicate, that's the speaking test. All right. So most of these schools, they really want to know. Okay. That's that's the reason why they are asking for this particular English test. So the first purpose is academic. And that's why we have IELTS academic. Do you understand? And the purpose is basically for studies. In case you want to study either for mostly for undergrads, for undergraduates, okay, you will be required to, show your IELTS certificate or IELTS results. Okay. So the first intention or the first purpose is basically academic. Very, very important. Academic. And the purpose is for studies. Okay. Now remember, even while we talk about academic, okay, the type of IELTS that other European country would receive is quite different from the type of IELTS that UK will receive. For example, if you're strictly applying to UK universities, you'll be mandated to write UKVI academic, strictly UKVI academic. Currently, UKVI academic is around 315,500. That's the fee in case you want to write UKVI academic. Because if you're applying to strictly UK universities, they prefer that you write UKVI academic, not the regular IELTS. We have regular IELTS and then we have UKVI. Do you understand? So UKVI is strictly for UK universities only, while the regular IELTS is basically for other European countries or Canada or Australia. Now, please don't forget, now there are some universities also in UK whereby you can choose to write regular IELTS as well too. Because mostly when I'm registering for regular IELTS too, okay, you will realize that UK is also part of the countries that would come up, that would suffice when you're registering, which means that some universities in UK still accept the regular IELTS. The majority of them accept UKVI academic. All right. So what I'm still explaining in a nutshell is there are different intentions for writing IELTS. Okay. Now, number one primary purpose is academic purpose. Academic purpose, meaning the intention of this test taker is to study abroad. Is to study abroad. Is to study abroad. And whenever you have the intention of studying abroad, I would advise you to consult ACE Education and Travel Consults. I would like you to reach out to ACE Edu and Travel Consults. ACE Edu and Travel Consult. Please don't forget. Try to write it down in your notebook as well too. In case you have the intention of studying abroad, okay? You can reach out to ACE Edu and Travel Consults. Very, very important. All right. Now, if that is cleared, now let's proceed to the next purpose. What other purpose can you use IELTS for? Now, another one is immigration. Immigration. What do I mean by immigration? Now, IELTS can be used for immigration purpose, such as what? Such as job sponsorship. You know, by job sponsorship, I mean you can use IELTS to secure job sponsorship. That is, if you have a very unique skill, probably you're a software engineer, you're a front end
Maybe.
engineer,
Wait,
or you're a
James.
back end engineer. Let me try to mute this
Wait,
person
give him
talking,
back. Go
please.
out to
He
him.
doesn't distract me. Please, just a minute. I want to know the person talking. Okay, I've muted the person. So let's continue, class. Now, like I was saying, another purpose for IELTS is under immigration, we have different categories. Okay. Now, one of it is IELTS to be required anytime you want to go for job sponsorship. I hope everybody can hear me. Anytime you want to go for job sponsorship, and before you can apply for job sponsorship, okay, you need to have a very good skill, a unique skill. What do I mean? Is either you're a software developer or a software engineer, all right, or you're generally in an IT space, all right, you can use that for job sponsorship. If you're a doctor, okay, if you're a doctor, we have different categories, be it a dentist or other form of, you know, category. You can apply for job sponsorship. You can apply for job sponsorship. How do you do that? You simply go to the website of the country, okay? Or you go to the website of this particular country. What do? You search. You search, just type in your job, the job you do, and then you see, you know, thank you so much for Pefoluwa. Yes, social work. Yes, social work can also go to. Yes, yes. In Canada, we call that care assistance. Okay, care assistance. Care assistance. So you simply go to the website of the country. Okay, for every country, there's always a job site. For every country, there's always a job site. Okay, so when you go there, type in the particular profession or the job, and then you'll be able to see companies, different companies that need that particular role, that different companies that need that particular job. What do? Check the requirements. Try to see if you fit into the requirements in terms of age, in terms of experience. Very, very important. And most of them usually require IELTS. And please, this time around, if you're writing IELTS, it won't be IELTS academic. Don't make that mistake. It won't be IELTS academic. It will be IELTS general training. It will be IELTS general training. Why? Because you are applying for a job. Because you are applying for a job. You are applying for a job. Now, once you apply, the company will review your documents. All the documents that you scanned and submitted, the company will review everything one after another. Once the company is satisfied, once the company is satisfied with your profile, with your documents, then you'll be reached out to. You'll be reached out to. Now, I can tell you that some people have used this particular process to secure jobs in different parts of the world. In different parts of the world. Even if you're a teacher, do you understand? You can secure, for example, if you go to Middle East, in the Middle East and Asia, they need teachers, but you still need to write IELTS, you know. So I'm trying to explain the concept of another purpose in which IELTS can be used for is what we called the immigration purpose. Now, if you don't want to follow the job sponsorship, there's another process of the immigration. It is called the PR, the PR, permanent residence. PR means permanent residence. What does that simply mean? Now, this is usually a situation whereby you go to the IRCC portal. Okay, let me use an example. Canada, for instance, go to the IRCC portal. When you get there, you create a profile for yourself. You create a profile. there's a particular amount of money you're going to pay for the profile to elapse for 1 year. Normally, these are things that agents would never teach you that I'm explaining to you. Okay, let me mute this particular person just a minute so that he doesn't distract us. Let me mute him so that he doesn't distract us. So let's continue. I've muted him. Now, these are things that agents will never explain to you freely, but I'm giving you that for free. So you go to IRCC portal. What do? Before you can create an account, you have to pay application fee. Is there? All right. You can check your CRS score. CRS score simply means you want to know if you're eligible to apply. All right. Then you just check by filling in your age, your possible IELTS score. You fill in everything. If you have a family in Canada, most of these things, you fill them in. And at the end of it all, is a point system based. You will see your points to know. If you have somebody in Canada, automatically you have 15 points, guaranteed. Once you have somebody in Canada, maybe a relative, or maybe any of your parents, you have 15 points guaranteed. I hope you're listening to me. Very, very important. So here, under the immigration, the profile, okay, would actually last for 1 year. At least it's expected of you to be able to what? Get all the necessary documents. What are the documents? Now, your certificates. If you have masters, beautiful. You have higher points, additional points, good. Work experience is required. Your age, the lesser your age, all right, the more chances that you have to be picked. All right. Then West evaluation. Our own grading system is different from Canada grading system. So your academic qualification needs to be graded. Your BSc needs to be graded according to Canadian standard. You pay for West evaluation. All right. And West evaluation will last for about 5 years. Once you have all of these documents, you apply. Write your IELTS. For IELTS express entry, you need to score as high as possible. Listening should be about 8.0. Reading should be about 7.5. You understand? And all of that. Then speaking about 7.5 to 8.0. Then you'll be able to apply. Okay? I hope you're paying attention. So this is very, very important. And then if you need further assistance, if you want us to help you, reach out to ACE Edu and Travel Consult. We'll help you with this process. This is basically the tip of the iceberg that I'm giving you. If you need more guidance, okay, then you can reach out. Now, another purpose of the IELTS basically is the aspect of the spouse. This is called UKVI Life Skill. UKVI Life Skill A1 and B1. This is another type of, we have IELTS academic. These are the different types of IELTS. We have IELTS academic. I've explained that to us. And then we have IELTS general training. I've also explained that too. The purpose of IELTS general training is basically for what? For permanent relocation or for job sponsorship. Now, there's another type of IELTS that is called UKVI Life Skill. Okay. Now, this UKVI Life Skill Life skill in the sense that you're only sitting for two modules only, and these two modules are basically listening and speaking. In life skill, you don't do reading and writing. You only focus on listening and speaking. All right. Now, when it comes to life skill, there are two types. There is life skill A1 and there is life skill B1. Now, remember, life skill A1 is usually a situation whereby life skill A1 is meant for the male, while B1 is meant for the female. And how does this work? Now, if, for instance, okay, if I have a wife in the UK, I'm a male and I have a wife in the UK, all right, and I need to join her. I need to join her in UK. I'll write UKVI Life Skill A1, whereby I will only sit for listening and speaking. All right. Then once the result comes out and I'm good to go, then I'll start the process to joining her. Then for a female, the person is required to write life skill, UKVI life skill B1, which is required basically for the female spouse to join the male spouse over in UK. B1 is basically for female spouse, while A1 is basically for the male spouse. Okay. Now, if this is clear, that's good. So we've looked at the different types of IELTS or the purposes. Okay. The different types of IELTS and the purposes. Why people write IELTS and the intention. Okay. Now, another thing that is very, very important for us to take note is in IELTS, there are four modules. There are four modules or four aspects. There are four modules or four aspects. Now, what are those four modules or four aspects? I hope you're still writing because, like I told you, this is a very detailed and explanatory class. You get to learn a whole lot from here. Now, here, there are four modules, and these four modules are classified into productive skills and receptive skills. Okay? Productive skills and receptive skills. Now, what are the productive skills? Let me try to mute Man Peking so that it doesn't distract us. I think he's okay, he's muted. Okay, let's continue since he's muted. Now, let's continue. Now, remember, these four modules are classified. I hope you're still writing, very important. They are classified into productive skills and receptive skills. Now, what are the productive skills? By productive skills simply means that the action comes from inward out. Examples of productive skills are writing and speaking. Please take note of that. Writing and speaking are productive skills because the action emanates from the inside. For example, writing and speaking involves the act of expressing, communicating your ideas, thoughts, feelings, and opinions to the examiner. All right. Now, do you know that by productive, we mean that these are modules whereby examiner will get to learn from you. When you write, examiner will read to learn from you. When you speak, examiner would listen to learn from you. They are called productive skills. And then there's another, okay, other two modules that are called receptive skills. They are called receptive skills. Examples are listening and reading. Now, by receptive, we mean outward in. You're receiving information, you're consuming. For example, in reading, for example, you're consuming the writer's thoughts, opinions, feelings, claims. You're consuming them. In listening, you're doing the same thing as well too. What are you doing? You're listening, you're absorbing conversations, dialogue from native speakers of English. That's receptive skills. Listening and reading, they are called receptive skills. Are we good to go? Now, let's continue. Now, in IELTS, there are two sessions. Okay? Is it that you write the exam in the morning, starting at 9 a.m., then ideally 3 hours you should be done. From 9 a.m. to 12, you're done with the exam. Okay? So we have morning session, we have afternoon session in the IELTS exam. Now, the morning session starts at 9 a.m., but remember, you have to be at the exam hall 30 minutes before the exam time. Why? Because you need to do some pre-registration, like thumb printing, face capturing. You understand? It is very, very necessary. So ensure that you're punctual. You're at the exam venue in time. All right. Now, during the exam day, the first module that you will sit for is the listening. The listening will last for 30 minutes with 40 questions. So the listening will take 30 minutes. All right. And listening is the same for both academic and general. They are the same thing, no difference. Once you're done with listening for about 30 minutes, then you move on to reading. You move straight to reading. All right. Now remember, there's a big difference between academic reading and general training reading. Academic reading is tougher, but the mark from experience favors the test taker. While general training reading is simpler, however, the mark most times doesn't favor. Because the grading system for academic reading is quite different from the grading system of the general training reading. If you have 30 over 40 as an academic student, okay, you should be having 7.5. But if a general training test taker has has 30 over 40, he or she would have 6.5. You can see there's a difference in the grading pattern for both academic reading and general training reading. Why is it like that? Because the academic reading has a complex passage. The general training reading has, do you understand, a less complex passage. I won't say extremely simple, but a less complex passage. All right. Now, an academic passage is longer in structure, while a general training passage is shorter in structure. But the grading patterns are not the same. The mark will most likely favor the academic student or the academic test taker. However, it won't really favor the general training test taker. So that means ideally, if an academic test taker or an academic candidate is chasing 30 over 40, it means that a general training candidate should be chasing 33 or 34 over 40 for both of them to have the same 7.5 band score. Now, once you're done with reading, then you will take on writing. While you're still seated on exam day, you take on writing. You take on writing. Writing is 1 hour, just like reading. Writing is 1 hour, just like reading. So for writing, you'll be given two tasks. You'll be given two tasks for both academic and general. There's a difference in task one for both academic and general. There's a difference in tax one for both academic and general. For instance, an academic candidate would have diagram interpretation in tax one. A general training candidate will have letter writing in tax one. An academic candidate would have diagram interpretation such as bar chart, histogram, line graph, table, or process. Then a general training candidate will have either a formal letter or an informal letter. Remember, IELTS is a strategy-based exam. The same way you write your letter when you were still in secondary school, it's not the same way you expect to write the letter in IELTS, because there are things that the examiner does not require of you. There are things that the examiner doesn't really want from you when you're writing the letter. And concerning the diagram interpretation, there is a structure for it. There is a particular way you're supposed to write. I'm going to show you. I'm going to explain them to you one after another as we progress. That's why I told you you can't miss this class. It's not possible because there's a lot. You have a lot. We are loaded to give you. Now, while you're still seated, you will take tax one. Though you may decide to start with tax two, I usually tell my students writing because tax two writing will require more words, minimum of 250 words, and it's an essay. Both academic and general training candidates are going to write essay. There is no difference in tax two. Tax two is essay writing, so there's no difference. Everybody is doing tax two. Be it an academic candidate, be it a general training candidate, everybody is doing tax two. Tax two takes 40 minutes, and the length of word is a minimum of 250 words. Please, even when you exceed 250, do not exceed 280. Even if you mistakenly exceed 250, do not exceed 280 words in length. And let me also bring to your information. Now, there is no paper base in IELTS anymore. It has been scrapped. There is no paper-based IELTS anymore. It has been scrapped. We only have computer-based IELTS, CBT IELTS. There's no paper-based anymore. Now, tax one, academic students will do diagram interpretation using 20 minutes, and the length of word is what? At least 150 words. General training students will do what? Will do letter writing, the same 20 minutes, and the length of word is a minimum of what? 150. Please, even when you exceed 150 words, do not exceed 180 words. Do not exceed 180 words. Very, very important. Do not exceed 180 words. Do not exceed 180 words. Now, another important information is Once you're done with the writing test, that means you've done listening, reading, and writing. I'm sure by this time on exam day, you would have been very tired. So you'll be given about 30 to 45 minutes, about 30 to 45 minutes to rest. You don't have to go home. Even if you're living closer, you don't have to go home. Just stay around. Okay? At this point, if you need your phone, you'll be given. Just for you to watch speaking videos, you'll be given at this point. Or if you want to practice any speaking with maybe a fellow test taker, you want to practice speaking test with a fellow test taker, you'll be allowed to do that. So after the 30 or 45 minutes that you're given, then you come in for the speaking. Now remember, the speaking can be face-to-face speaking or video call speaking, depending on whichever one the test center organizes. Okay? It can be face-to-face speaking or video call speaking. Now, if it's a face-to-face speaking, it means that the examiner will be present at the test center. Remember, the examiner can be a Nigerian or an African. African, I mean, is maybe a South African woman or man, or in some other cases too, it could be a native speaker of English. Now, you would have to sit directly opposite with the examiner when the speaking test would start. The speaking test should take about 15 to 20 minutes. All right. And there are three parts: part one, part two, and part three. The speaking cannot equally be a video call. In this situation, the examiner is not physically present at the test center. So you'll be given a laptop, all right, and then you'll be connected via Skype or Zoom or Google Meet. You'll be connected via any of these means with the all right. Video calls, seeing the examiner at the other end. All right. We're seeing the examiner at the other end. Then the whole communication will go ahead. You go through part one, part two, and part three. Remember, the speaking is usually recorded from the very beginning to the end. The speaking is recorded. And let me remind you, it is not the same examiner that conducted the speaking test that would grade it. It's not the same examiner that conducted the speaking test that would grade it. It will be an entirely different examiner. Please have it in mind. And there are things that examiners are looking out for in the speaking. The first one is pronunciation. The second one is fluency. The third one is lexical resource, which is vocabulary. The fourth one is grammatical range and accuracy. These are the four criteria that examiner will be using to grade you. Don't worry, once I dive into each of these modules, you will get the details. Are we following? Now, once you're done with the speaking, then you are now allowed to go home. So at this point, when you come back home, I'm very sure you'll be very, very tired. You can just freshen up and then sleep. Now, others may decide to go for the afternoon session of the exam. Is that you book in the morning or you book in the afternoon? So we have an afternoon session that starts from 1 o'clock to 4 p.m. And for information, people register for afternoon session too. Usually from 1 o'clock to 4 p.m. Okay, and then they take the exam the same way too, the same way the morning session goes. All right. Before, when it was still paper based, okay, if you register for paper based, the speaking will be on a separate day from the listening, reading, and writing, about 2 days before or 2 days after the listening, speaking, and writing. The listening, reading, and writing rather. The speaking is always on a separate day from the listening, reading, and writing. Usually when we're still operating at paper-based level. But now there's no longer paper-based. What we only have is the computer-based. And then when paper-based was still in vogue, all right, what we do is paper-based takes longer, takes about 13 days for the result to come out during paper-based period. But computer-based comes out easier and faster, comes out within 3 to 5 days, minimum 3 days, maximum 5 days. And that is what is still, you know, invoked to today, the computer base. It is still pertinent at this period. Computer base, 3 to 5 days, the result is out. You'll be notified in your email that the result is out. And then you follow the link in your email to check the results. You can download the original copy of the results and print it out. You don't need to go to the test center to get it. You can download it from either your phone or your laptop and then print it out. Now, the validity of IELTS is 2 years. That is, IELTS expires after 2 years. After 2 years. It expires after 2 years. If you write in June 2025, if you write in June 2025, for example, then by June 2027, then the result comes out. The result expires rather. As at that period, the result expires. June 2025 to June 2027, the result comes out. All right. That's usually when the result comes out. Do you understand? So that's basically how it works. And then there's a new one that was recently launched, I think about a year ago or 2 years ago, thereabout. So it's called the one skill retake. So for instance, the one skill retake has conditions. And what are those conditions? Now, the first thing is it has to be computer based and the result has to still be valid within 60 days. That's 2 months before, and then you can only retake one module. If a test taker is deficient in one module, let's say listening, for instance, such test taker can retake just that listening module. The test taker doesn't have to take everything all through. He or she will just have to retake the listening alone. But remember, the one skill retake is not applicable to immigration IELTS, that is express entry or PR. One skill retake is not allowed. You have to clear the results at once. Where you can possibly use one skill retake is in academic purpose, for studies basically. I hope we're very clear with this now. I hope we're very, very clear with this. Now, the IELTS can basically stand for, trying to showcase the fact that you have good proficiency in the use of English. In the use of English. And that's why it's very, very important. The purpose determines the type of IELTS. The purpose to which you're sitting the exam determines the type of IELTS you're writing. If the intention is academic, please register for IELTS Academic. You can't use IELTS General for academic. You can't use academic for general training. It's not possible. They have different purposes. So the intention, the purpose determines the type of IELTS you're registering. And that's why it's very, very important to do proper consultation. Make a detailed inquiry to be sure that you're doing the right thing. This is very, very important. Very, very important. Now, at this point, I will just take about a few questions. If you have any question to ask me, I would just signify, I will mute you, and then you can proceed with your question. You may decide to just type it, I'll read it and answer, but please do not bombard the comment box. If you have any question based on what I've explained to you right now, because the next class will be on Wednesday, okay? And like I said, get your writing materials. We have a lot to give you. Get your writing materials, get your notepad, ensure you're writing, because you'll gain a lot here. All right? Now, if you have a question, I'm going to take questions now. I'm going to entertain questions. If you have questions, you can either type them or you can just signify, I will unmute you, then you can speak. Thank you so much. Let me leave the floor for those that have questions. And if the whole concept is clear, then it means okay, so let me read Rita Raymond. Let me read your okay. Hello, Mr. Obin. You mentioned that examiner looks out for 4 things during the listening part. Can you repeat them again? Oh, it wasn't the listening, it was the speaking, actually. Okay, yeah, he says, sorry, I mean speaking. Yes, you're right, it's speaking, not listening. Not listening, it's speaking. So I said that in the speaking tests, examiners are looking out for 4 criteria from the test taker. And what are those 4 criteria? The first one is pronunciation, not accent. There's a big difference between accent and pronunciation. Even when your pigment of speech is reflecting in your utterance, examiner would not count that against you. The examiner is basically looking at pronunciation, ability for you to pronounce words the way they ought to be pronounced. Then 2, fluency. What does that mean? Your communicative ability, ability for you to flow with the use of the language. That is, not getting stuck. You know how you speak your native or indigenous language, for example, maybe Yoruba or Igbo language or Hausa language, you know, it comes expressly. The same way examiner wants you to what? Flow like that. So they are watching for fluency. The third one is lexical resource. Please, you need to learn good vocabulary. Use elevated vocabulary. Do not use common vocabulary. Let me give an example. Instead of saying careful, why don't you use meticulous? Instead of saying wicked, why don't you use callous? Instead of saying good, why don't you use awesome? Instead of angry, why don't you use furious? Can you see? You need to use elevated vocabulary. And that goes a long way. All right. Then the last one is grammatical range and accuracy, meaning grammar. You need to be very good with your word classes. Use nouns appropriately. Use verbs appropriately when you're speaking. Use adjective appropriately. Do you understand? They are very, very important. Use them appropriately. Okay? Then, under grammatical range and accuracy, we have tenses. Use tenses appropriately. Now, what does tense means? Tense has to do with the action associated with the meaning you're communicating. If what you're saying is happening presently, use verbs that are associated with that. If what you're talking about will happen in the future, there are some verbs that will express that, such as shall or will. They are future verbs. Barnabas, please, I have seen your hand. I'm going to unmute you so that you can speak. Please, just a minute. And another one is, past tense. Okay, past tense as well too. Past tense, you can use verbs like was, were, and so on like that. So these are the 4 criteria. I hope I've been able to answer Rita's question. Then Rita one said, "Thank you, Prince. Can you register for the exam anytime? Can one register on a Monday for an exam on Thursday? Any implication?" No, there's no implication. You can register. Um, besides, even as it stands, it's every day. The exam is every day now, so you can register any particular day of your choice. It's every day because it's computer based. So you can register on Monday, register on Thursday. So if you want to register, okay, you can reach out to Ace Edu and Travel Consults, okay? Yes, you can reach out to Ace Edu and Travel Consults. They would help you with the registration. All right. And Adedolapo says, "Good evening, sir. Thank you for today's teaching. But is it possible to have your screen shared when teaching in the next class for better understanding, sir?" Okay, yeah. So the screen sharing will come in when I'm doing the practical aspect. This is basically the introductory aspect. You understand? So I'm basically telling you all of these things from my head. Understand? So when we dive into listening and the rest of them, then I will share the screen for you to see. These are basically the introductory aspects of the class. Okay. And then Barnabas said, based on my target bounce score, which section should I focus on first? Okay. Um, it depends. It depends. It depends on you, Barnabas. For example, some people find it easy with speaking and maybe listening. All right. So if you find it difficult with reading and writing, I think you should focus more on reading and writing. So ideally, what I'm saying in essence is that focus on your weakness. Focus more on your weakness. Your area of strength, you can leave them aside first. Focus on your weakness. I hope I've been able to answer the question, Barnabas. And okay, Barnabas has sent in a comment already. So any other person? Any other person? Any other person? Yes, Faith. Um, and the creating of PR, that is the Canada PR profile, does it require any other thing apart from the certain amounts that you're to pay? Okay, so for proper guidance, what I would advise is you should reach out to Ace Edu and Ace Edu and Travel Consults. Yes, reach out to in case you want to do Canada PR. Ace Edu and Travel Consults will guide you properly. You understand, so that you won't make mistakes. All right. I just had to give you the breakdown of how you can go about it. But for proper guidance, I would advise that you consult or you reach out to Ace Edu and Travel Consults. All right, Barnabas, thank you so much too. I appreciate it. Okay, This is 8:10. So, okay, said, how about the consultation fee? Um, I can't really answer that, but I'm sure when you reach out to Ace Edu and Travel Consults, okay, you'll be properly guided on the certain amount for consultation fee. All right? Yes. Okwefolua, please reach out to Ace Edu and Travel Consults. Do you understand? They would guide you properly. They would guide you properly. So, any other possible question? Any other question before we call it a day? Any other question? I'm still waiting. Okay. God's power, Victoria. So, sorry, sir. Who are we to reach out concerning the exam you mentioned? The names, but it was breaking. Okay. Yeah. Please, God's power, kindly reach out to Ace Edu and Travel Consults. All right. Please reach out to them. Okay. They will guide you further. They will guide you further. They'll guide you further. And then Innocent says, is the office in Abuja and the address? Okay. So please, for consultation about office addresses, kindly reach out to Ace Edu and Travel Consults. Okay. So we have office in Alagomeji. All right. But for further annexes or branches, kindly reach out to Ace Edu and Travel Consults. All right. I think I've been able to answer all questions. Follow-up question. This is 13 minutes past. Thank you, Barnabas. I really appreciate you. Thank you, Gospa. I really appreciate you. Any other question? All right. Thank you so much. We'll meet on Wednesday. All right. I'll call it an end from here. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for your attention. Thank you so much. Innocent, I appreciate you. Thank you so much. I hope to see you on Wednesday. Gospa, I hope to see you on Wednesday. Folua, Rita, Raymond, I hope to see you on Wednesday. Thank you, everyone. Do have a good night.